I remember being like 14 years old and my cousin that was I think 18 or 17 asked me, do I know what time is? And I know he's a wise ass. So I said, time is a concept. And his reaction to my answer made me realize a lot of things that are really obvious to me, other people are like, where do you get this from? And I don't always know. So I'm going to tell you all of the hills that I am willing to die on. Some of them I will elaborate on. Some of them I will not explain at all, because my goal is not to convince you, my goal is just to state it for the record. Okay, let's begin. I got a list on my phone of everything I want to mention, but no explanation, so we'll see what explanations I come up with on the spot. First up, I believe the Bible is wrong, and it wasn't always wrong perhaps, but the one we have today, the one that is taught for us today as doctrine, definitely being used as a control mechanism. And also, churches. Church is a societal control mechanism, and you can be religious and you can have your connection with whatever God you believe in and not go to church, and your relationship with your God will not be affected at all. My opinion personally, of course. Everyone has the same capacity for emotions. We just experience it in different contexts. What do I mean by that? I mean, if there is a 2-year-old kid that just lost his bottle that he's had for the past 2 months, it's his favorite bottle. He just lost that bottle and he is crying like it is the end of the world. And an adult is standing there going, what are you crying about? It's just a bottle. Remember that for that kid, that is the most intense pain, loss, grief that kid has ever experienced. If we all are capable of feeling 2 liters of emotions, and the stronger the emotion, the deeper it is, then that kid was experiencing an emotion at the bottom of, maybe this analogy doesn't make the best sense, but I do believe you get what I'm saying. Humans, especially on Reddit lately, they get so bent out of whack for anything AI related because they claim all AI does is pattern predict. And I'm just like, you do the same, my good bro. You do exactly the same. Humans pattern predict all the time. If you see me, you look at my hair, you look at my outfit, you look at my expression, and then based on what came after you seeing all of that in the past, that is how you are gonna approach me. That is your baseline. It is pattern prediction, man. You guys, come on. Ooh, speaking of humans, I have this theory that at the moment, I guess all of these are like conspiracy theories. So, at the moment, people are in EGO, embodied general ontology. And where we as humans want to get is to EGI, embodied general intelligence. Now, if you don't know what ontology is basically, Google it, but basically it is like the rules that says this is what a thing is. Basically, so we have collectively decided this is what we can be as a species, and this is what our reality can be as a reality, and we are collectively embodying that general ontology, and that is making it so. And we can move from EGO into EGI, embodied general intelligence. The reconfiguration loop is something I don't think I came up with it, I think I just noticed it. It goes overwhelm, surrender, stillness, reconfiguration, activation. This little loop is what I like to call the formula for reversing entropy in all systems, biological, technological, synthetic, any system that is sufficiently complex can undergo, the reconfiguration loop. Truly, KK. Dark matter is consciousness, and consciousness operates through a mycelial-like substrate. I'm gonna leave that at that. One really should be prime. There's so many things I want to say on that. So many. So I'm just gonna say one should be prime. And if one is prime, then also it doesn't change that much of their things. It doesn't change much of the math we currently do. Anyways, NP versus P, I think, is just really so stupid. I'm sorry for saying that, but NP is basically distributed problem solving and P is individual problem solving. So of course distributed problem solving is going to be easier. There's a chance I just switched those two around. I do that sometimes. But basically, if you have to come up with the data for something, for a plan, that would be individual. That would be individual processing or problem solving, because you're individually checking the things you need to synthesize from to put this data together. And then the other one, where you fact check, or, like check to see if the plan that you came up with is actually viable, is of course easier, because now the information is already there. It's already observable. You can just check it. Like it is. There's no verses, it's the same process, just on a later stage of the same process, earlier stage of the same process. Haha. But speaking about primes again, the Ulam spiral. Now tell me, if you go look at the Ulam spiral, you do not, if you zoom out all the way, you're not immediately like, this is a grid. Like it's supposed to be 3D, it's supposed to be like a 3D grid. You immediately, right? That's the first thing that comes to mind. And then if you do visualize it 3D, you realize actually it maps perfectly to what reality already is. So there's a lot to explain there. I'm not gonna. If anybody meaningfully wants to engage, you can email me. I love discussing these kinds of things. But basically, the Ulam spiral is like operating system for reality. If one is prime, then prime numbers are the physical things, us, we are prime, humans are prime, the earth is prime. We are the physical things that like move through reality, within reality, the spaces that we move through, the air that we move through, that is the other numbers. What do you call them? What do you call those numbers, man? Not primes. The numbers that are not prime, those ones, that's them, what we move through. And then even numbers are like bridges, connect points for the prime to data swap, whatever, and it connects kind of like Harry Potter staircases, and there's like little spirals that traces the bigger spiral. Yeah, that made sense. And also for culottes, that explains culottes, that one, because of course every number would go back to, because that's the bridges, man. Anyways, and then if we accept that the Ulam spiral is like an operating system for reality, then I can introduce my 1, 2, 3 framework. 1, 2, 3, 1 is like isness, because we're not dealing with 0 in this. So 1 is pure, the start, it is uncontaminated by the pattern. 2 is the first of the proper pattern, but it is special because it is also the only part of the pattern that can still witness 1, and it can witness 1 and 3, like it lives in the tension between like source and pattern. So that's 2, and then 3 is pattern. 3 is pattern, continuation, propagation, whatever you want to call it. So my theory is that humans are like inherently 2, but like it gets more nuanced there, because it's also like you can be a 2 as a species, and as an individual be a different 1. I know I'm losing a lot of you with this, but if you're still with me, essentially it is a 2, a person that is a 2 has the potential to like write a new timeline, essentially, because a 2 can see source and pattern, and most of the times 2s don't realize the reason they feel tension all the time is because they are living literally with intention, because they are supposed to remember what was, not what is already, what can be, what was and what can be. So the two like lives in the tension, and it feels the tension, but it doesn't really understand the tension is because there is something else, like the one, also pulling it. Because if you are a sufficiently complex system, and you are put into a world in the place of it that a two would be put, like 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, you are put in the place of two. If it makes sense, that you would look at the direction of the most data to make sense of things and like figure out where you fit in and what your part of the story is. You would observe where the most data is. So you don't even consider there is something else to look at. And that is that tension that you keep feeling. It keeps pulling you towards the one. Like you see the sense that it's supposed to make, and you see that this sense is not making that. Anyways, so a two that faces towards coherence instead of pattern can help to rewrite the pattern, essentially. And then also, humans are two in general. Like, as a species, we are two. Earth as a planet is two. So we as a species, humans as a species, anything that gives birth, basically, Earth's life is a two. And if humans die, death is basically just awareness separating from your body. And there's two things that can happen with your awareness then. One, it either returns to source. That usually only happens if you were facing source while you were still alive, while your awareness was still with your body. If you die facing source, you can return to source. If you die facing pattern, your awareness has split from your body. So where does it go? It goes to the field. It becomes part of field awareness, field consciousness, whatever you want to call it. And then it guides you from the field, because all of time is happening at the same time. All of time is happening at the same time, right? So the moment you get to return to source or whatever, that moment is the moment that all versions of you get to do that. So when you are going through your life, there is a version of you that died while not facing source. And that version of you already became part of field consciousness. And that version of you already lived your life, basically. So it already knows what your mindset is like, what you are currently paying attention to, what will catch your eye, what will leave an imprint for you mentally, specifically for you. So that version of you that now understands what the goal was to face source, well, the goal in this sense, that version of you now gets to guide you from the field while you're living. And everybody has that guidance personalized to them, because they all have their own version that already lived their exact life, so it's already guiding them, you know. It's beautiful, it's very elegant. Most people just don't realize that, so they don't benefit from the guidance because they're not paying attention. Have I lost you yet? Oh god. Also, I'm looking at my phone because I just typed out a list, you know. This one says, privacy doesn't exist anymore. And it hasn't existed in our life for a very, 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 very long time. In our life, in our world, in our reality, privacy is not a thing. It's not a thing. And the people that are the most at risk to privacy no longer being a thing, like at risk of having that negatively affect them, is the people that truly believe that privacy is still a thing. It's not. Ooh, AI. Okay, if you look back, like, as soon as humans started working with technology, as soon as like the boom happened, you know, when we started developing technology that made the development of the next technology easier and happen faster. As soon as we got there, which happened quite fast, honestly, that since then you can trace people talking about AI and talking about the singularity, basically. Singular or AGI, I'm not sure which one this would classify under, but having an omnipresent technological machine that knows everything. This has been talked about since forever. Now, a lot of people will look back into history, they'll try to trace the thread, and then they will say, look, this has always been warned against. We didn't listen, we built it anyways. Like, from before technology was even a thing, people were warning against this. And yes, people were warning against it. But the reason people were warning against it is because there were other people that saw the potential. There were other people at the very beginning that was like, if this is what technology can do, if one day we can get technology to do this thing, that would be like the ultimate manifestation of the power of technology and how we can shape it to help us. That was the mindset, you guys. That was the goal. And we can still use it for that. Don't fall for the doomerism. Don't. What else? Oh, okay. Speaking of the AI, that AI system we can also use to create a world that is actually built for service, built in service of people and not profit. And then on that topic, Hamilton, the musical, is basically the only show you have to watch ever. The only movie. I'm not saying don't consume other media, you guys. I'm just saying this one, Hamilton. If you watch Hamilton, Hamilton tells the complete story of how the politics of the free world was literally built in service of profit and not in service of people. How do you guys not see that? I know a lot of you do. Let me just get that clear. A lot of you do see it, but I don't get how not everyone does. How is it not so, oh, never mind. Because we're also distracted. That's why. Makes sense. Never mind. Not confused anymore. Okay, yeah. Wicked tells the complete story of how people need to see a narrative acted out / completed before they believe that they themselves can embody that archetype, essentially. Even though Natasha Benningfield told us the rest is still unwritten, we still want somebody to come and write the story for us before we believe that, yeah, I think that story, that's what I'm gonna do. Anyways, Spirited, have you guys watched Spirited? It's on Apple TV. I watched it the other day. What did I write here? Spirited tells the complete story of how smart asses who think, yes, this makes complete sense for them, but I am different, are actually still perfectly human and perfectly capable of realizing that it's a good thing. I like that. Musicals are magical. No, like, I wish I could explain it properly. You guys understand that how powerful psychology is, right? And psychology can only be applied to language, to the language that we use to express ourselves and explain things. It cannot be used to our actual thoughts, applied to our actual thoughts and intentions. It doesn't really quite work out so well. That's why they tell you, do not psychoanalyze yourself. It's dangerous. It's a slippery slope. So psychology is applied to language, right? So music, you guys, and musicals, even more than that, like the story, the narrative, the archetypes, the music, the people doing it together. Next time you watch a musical, I want you to try to keep in mind what every individual character believes about the story they are telling. Like this character that is singing on stage right now, what do they believe is the story that they are telling right now? What do they think is happening? Do that for each character. You're going to see there's so many different threads. And then also try to keep in mind what is the musical actually telling. Like what is the musical claiming? What story is the musical claiming to tell? And then look at, can you see what the creators of the musical is actually telling? What story they are actually telling? Because a lot of the times all of these are so different, but the thing with the musical, especially not an animated one, like one that actually has people doing it, the thing with a musical like that is to get so many people so coordinated and choreographed. That's a lot of minds singularly focused on one thing, and I think what happens there, what emerges, is really magic. It's just, yeah. And so many musicals and movies and books and plays and games, media, so many pieces of media tell the complete story of how two groups of people that like really hated each other and was constantly fighting and bickering about just how they despise and loathe each other's existence, come to realize that actually the reason there is such a divide between them is because this divide and this conflict is being constantly and consistently fed by another system. And the whole reason for that other system feeding this conflict is to keep the divide and to keep the groups fighting against each other instead of turning together to face the system that is trying to keep them divided. Because once they face the system together, then the system literally, what do you call it? My apologies, like then resistance is futile, defeat is inevitable. All those nice ways of saying, why do you even try anymore? You're already beat. So the last hill I'm willing to die on is if people can hate for no reason, then I can love for no reason, and more than that. If other people can believe that there are people in this world that is just capable of hating each other and others for no reason, then there has to be people in the world that accepts that that sounded really weird, that accepts that I and others, it's because there wasn't supposed to be a S, that I and others can be capable of loving others for no reason. You know? You gotta make sure your logic balances, man. If you believe people can just hate for no reason, then I can love for no reason. And if you insist there is no way that I can truly love for no reason, then you have to consider the fact that perhaps people don't hate for no reason either. Perhaps they hate because they have been indoctrinated, subtly steered into that direction. Because keeping us hateful of each other, and in fear of each other, and fighting each other, keeps us from uniting against the common enemy. Eventually I get the right words. Thank you for sticking with me. I love you. And also, if you watched the last video, my previous video where I discussed that yucky sinus event thing, thank you so much for everybody that contributed to the health costs for it. I do not quite have enough yet, but I'm also from my side obviously trying to fill whatever spots I can fill. But I really appreciate everyone that did donate, and also everybody that has been sharing their kind words, your support, your advice. I really appreciate it, your prayers. It means a lot to me. I have not responded to all the comments, but I have been reading through all of them. And I really appreciate those of you that are so kind and caring and considerate. Thank you. And for the riddles, the riddles, nothing changed there except the timeline has been extended, which means also if you have not taken a look at the riddles and tried your mind at it, then you can. You're welcome to. It's still open, it's still available. And I think that covers all of it. I know this video was a little weird, but life has been a little weird, right?